Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to imagine something right now. Imagine you wake up in the middle of the night. The room is still. Everything is quiet. But something inside you knows this is not just another night. This is the moment. The moment of transformation. Because listen, when Jesus says your time is over, he's not talking about the end of your existence. He's talking about the end of playing small. The end of fear, the end of procrastination, the end of the version of you that has been trapped in doubt, in hesitation, in the comfort zone, that is keeping you from your destiny. Everything in life happens for a reason. Every moment, every challenge, every breakthrough, it's all part of something bigger than you. But here's the deal. Most people miss it. They get so caught up in their routines, in their daily struggles, in their distractions, that they fail to see the signs. They fail to recognize that there's a divine timeline at play. But let me tell you something. When Jesus speaks, when that whisper comes, when you feel that tug inside your soul, it's not random. It's a message, a calling, a divine invitation to step into something greater. Now, what does it mean when Jesus says your time is over? A lot of people would immediately associate that with fear, with loss, with an ending. But I want to flip that for you right now. I want you to see it differently, because it's not about something being taken away. It's about something being transformed. It's about stepping into a new season. It's about the expiration of an old chapter so that a new, more powerful one can begin. Think about this. Often do people stay stuck in the same place, not because they can't move forward, but because they refuse to. They stay in toxic relationships. They stay in jobs they hate. They hold on to habits and thought patterns that are keeping them from their potential. And the reason? Because change is uncomfortable. Because stepping into the unknown requires faith. Because letting go of what's familiar, even when it's painful, feels scary. But growth doesn't happen in comfort. Breakthroughs don't happen when you're clinging to the past. If you want to step into the person you were meant to be, you have to be willing to release the version of you that is no longer serving your purpose. So when Jesus says your time is over, he's not telling you to be afraid. He's telling you to wake up. He's telling you that your excuses are over. Your waiting game is over. Your time of being passive, of being hesitant, of being stuck in cycles that no longer serve you, that's over. It's time to move. It's time to step up. It's time to step into the identity that has been waiting for you all along. And let's talk about divine timing for a second, because this is powerful. We all have moments in life where we feel like we're ready for something, but the door doesn't open. We pray, we work, we push, and nothing seems to change. But then there are moments when everything lines up, when suddenly the opportunity is right in front of you, when the path becomes clear. That's divine timing. That's God's way of saying, now is the time. And you have to recognize it, because when that moment comes, you don't hesitate. You don't question it. You don't let fear hold you back. You step into it boldly, knowing that you are being led into something greater. But here's where most people miss it. They ignore the call. They feel that stirring in their soul. They know deep down that something has to change, but they push it aside. They convince themselves that they need more time, that they need more clarity, that they need a perfect plan. But let me tell you, perfection is the enemy of progress. You don't need all the answers to take the first step. You don't need to see the whole staircase to take the first step of faith. You just need to move. Because when you move, when you take that first step, that's when God meets you. That's when doors begin to open. That's when you realize that everything you've been waiting for has been waiting for you to say yes. And let's talk about this concept of being visited at night. Why at night? Why not in the middle of the day when everything is loud, when the world is buzzing with distractions? Because nighttime is when everything is still. It's when you're alone with your thoughts. It's when the distractions fade away and you're left with the truth. And that's exactly when God speaks. That's when revelations happen. That's when the greatest shifts occur. Because it's in the quiet, in the stillness, when you can finally hear what you've been avoiding. Most people don't like silence because silence forces them to confront what's really inside them. It forces them to face their fears, their regrets, their doubts. But let me tell you something. If you never face those things, you'll never overcome them. If you never sit in that silence and allow yourself to hear what God is trying to tell you, you'll keep running in circles, stuck in the same patterns, wondering why nothing ever changes. So what happens when Jesus visits you at night? It's a moment of awakening. It's a moment where you get clarity, where you get direction, where you get the next step. But it's up to you to act on it. Because if you ignore it, if you go back to sleep, both literally and figuratively, you risk missing your moment. You risk missing the transformation that was meant for you. And that's why urgency is key. That's why when the message says, open this before February 14, it's not just about a date. It's about the principle of urgency. It's about understanding that when a calling is placed on your life, you don't delay. You don't wait for a better time. You don't let fear keep you from moving forward. Think about this. How many times in your life have you known deep down that you needed to make a change, but you put it off? How many times have you felt that nudge, that inner voice saying it's time, but you ignored it? And how many times did that delay cost you an opportunity, a breakthrough, a transformation that could have changed everything? I'm here to tell you, don't let that happen this time. Don't let fear, doubt, or hesitation rob you of what God is trying to do in your life. Because when Jesus speaks, when he calls you, when he tells you that it's time, you don't wait. You don't overthink. You don't look back. You move forward with faith, with courage, with the absolute certainty that what's ahead is greater than what's behind. Your time isn't over. Your old way of living is. The time for hesitation is over. The time for excuses is over. The time for staying stuck in the past is over. What comes next? That's up to you. But one thing is certain, when Jesus calls, you answer. Because that's the moment everything changes. Now, are you ready? Change is one of the most feared and resisted forces in life. People cling to comfort because it feels safe, it feels predictable, and it allows them to stay within the limits of what they already know. But let me tell you something. Real transformation, real breakthroughs, real purpose don't exist in the comfort zone. They exist on the other side of fear, on the other side of change, on the other side of taking a leap when everything inside you wants to hold back. When Jesus says, your time is over, he's not saying your life is over. He's saying the old way of living is over. He's saying the version of you that was stuck, the version that was hesitant, the version that was trapped in old habits, limiting beliefs, and fear, that version has run its course. And the truth is, deep down, you already know this. You already feel it. You already sense that you were made for more, that something bigger is calling you, that you cannot stay where you are and step into the life that God has designed for you at the same time. But what do most people do when they hear this call? They resist. They hold on. They try to negotiate with change. They say, I'll do it later. They say, I'm not ready. They convince themselves that they need more time, more resources, more clarity before they can take action. And what happens? Nothing. They stay stuck. They keep running in circles, never realizing that waiting doesn't make change easier. It makes it harder. The longer you wait, the more you doubt yourself. The longer you wait, the more fear builds up. The longer you wait, the more you miss the opportunities that were meant for you. So why do people resist change? Because it threatens the identity they've built. If you've lived a certain way for years, even if it's not fulfilling, even if it's keeping you stuck, it still feels familiar. And familiarity breeds attachment. People would rather hold on to a known struggle than step into an unknown possibility. But listen, what you hold on to can either be your anchor or your chain. It can either ground you in purpose or it can keep you trapped in fear. And when Jesus says your time is over, He's telling you to break the chains. He's telling you to stop holding on to the thing that's holding you back. Think about the story of Peter walking on water. Jesus told him to step out of the boat. And in that moment, Peter had a choice. Stay in the boat where it was safe, where it was familiar, where he was in control, or step out on the water where faith was required. And for a moment, Peter walked. He did the impossible. But then what happened? He looked down. He let fear creep in. He questioned whether he could really do it. And the second he doubted, he started to sink. That's what happens in life. When you step into change with faith, you move forward. But the moment you let fear take over, the moment you hesitate, the moment you start questioning whether you can really do it, that's when you sink. That's when you lose momentum. That's when you get stuck in the cycle of almost stepping into your destiny, but never fully arriving. The power of change isn't just about making a move. It's about committing to it. It's about deciding that you are done playing small, that you are done letting fear run your life, that you are done delaying the transformation that you already know is meant for you. And here's the truth. God isn't asking for perfection. He's not asking for you to have it all figured out. He's just asking for your obedience. He's asking for your willingness to trust him even when you can't see the full picture. Because when you take that step, when you choose to embrace the change instead of resisting it, doors will open that you never imagined. Strength will rise in you that you didn't know you had. But you have to be willing to let go. Let go of the excuses, let go of the doubts, let go of the version of you that has been stuck in survival mode, that has been living in one-day thinking, that has been waiting for a perfect moment that will never come. Your time of waiting is over. Your time of wondering is over. Your time of sitting on the sidelines of your own life, watching others step into their purpose while you hesitate, is over. What happens next is up to you. You can hear this message, feel the fire, feel the urgency, and then do nothing. Or you can take action. You can step forward in faith, knowing that if Jesus is calling you into change, he's also equipping you for it. The question isn't whether you're ready. The question is whether you're willing. Because the truth is, you're never fully ready for the next level, but you step into it anyway. You grow into it. You rise into it. And before you know it, you'll look back and realize that the old you, the one that was afraid, the one that doubted, the one that wasn't sure, has been left behind. And isn't that the goal? Not to stay the same, not to hold on to old identities, not to live in fear, but to become the person you were always meant to be. To embrace change, not as something to fear, but as something to welcome. Because when Jesus says, your time is over, he's not taking something from you. He's giving something to you. He's giving you a new beginning. He's giving you an open door. He's giving you the opportunity to step into your destiny. So the question is, will you take it? Will you let go of what's holding you back? Will you stop resisting the change that is meant to set you free? Because the only thing standing between you and the life you were created for is the decision to say, yes, I'm ready. Yes, I trust. Yes, I will step forward. The time is now. The door is open. The call has been made. Will you answer? Faith in the unknown is one of the most powerful yet challenging concepts to embrace. As human beings, we crave certainty. We want to know what's next. We want to see the path ahead. We want to be sure that if we take a step, the ground beneath us will be solid. But that's not how faith works. Faith isn't about knowing every detail. It's about stepping forward even when you can't see the entire staircase. It's about believing that when Jesus says, I will visit you at night, he is preparing you for something greater, even if you don't fully understand it yet. Think about that for a moment. If you knew exactly how your life would unfold, where every opportunity would come from, when every challenge would appear, where would faith be in that? There would be no need for trust, no need for surrender, no need for that deep inner confidence that says, I may not see it, but I know it's coming. Faith is believing in something before you see it. It's the ability to walk forward in obedience even when the road ahead isn't fully lit. That's why Jesus often reveals things to us in moments of stillness, in the quiet, in the depths of the night, because that's when we are forced to rely on faith rather than sight. When Jesus says, I will visit you at night, he's telling you that there are things he wants to reveal to you, things that can't be heard in the noise of the day, things that require stillness, reflection, and an open heart. Have you ever noticed that some of the most profound moments of realization, some of the deepest convictions, some of the strongest nudges to make a change come at night? When the distractions of the world are gone, when you're lying in bed, when there's nothing left but your thoughts and your spirit. That's because night is when the voice of God becomes the clearest, if you're willing to listen. But here's where most people struggle. They feel that nudge, they feel that whisper in their spirit telling them to make a change, to step into something new, to release something that's been weighing them down. But they resist, they overthink it, they let doubt creep in. They wonder if they're making it all up, if it's really God speaking, if they should wait for more confirmation. And in that hesitation, they miss the moment. They miss the opportunity. They miss the divine timing that was set up for them. Faith isn't just about believing. It's about acting on that belief. It's about trusting that if Jesus is calling you into something, he will equip you for it. Faith in the unknown means surrendering control. And let's be honest, control is something we all want to hold on to. We want to plan, to predict, to ensure that everything will work out exactly how we expect it to. But control is an illusion. You don't control the timing, you don't control the opportunities, you don't control the way things unfold. The only thing you control is your response. Will you trust or will you resist? Will you move or will you hesitate? Will you let fear dictate your decisions or will you step forward in faith, knowing that even if you can't see the outcome, the one guiding you does? Think about every major breakthrough in your life. Did it happen when you had everything figured out, when the conditions were perfect, when you had absolute certainty? No, it happened when you took a risk, when you stepped into the unknown, when you did something that scared you, but you did it anyway. That's what faith looks like. It looks like moving even when you're afraid. It looks like saying yes even when the path isn't clear. It looks like believing in the unseen, trusting that God is already working behind the scenes, orchestrating things in your favor even when you can't perceive it yet. Faith in the unknown also means recognizing that discomfort is part of the process. Growth doesn't happen in the familiar. Breakthroughs don't come from playing it safe. If Jesus is visiting you at night, if he's stirring something inside you, if he's nudging you towards something new, it means he's calling you higher. And stepping into that next level requires stretching. It requires letting go of the old version of yourself that is clinging to safety, that is holding on to comfort, that is afraid to release control. It requires stepping into the unknown with the absolute confidence that God's plan is greater than your own. There's a reason why some of the greatest miracles in history happened in moments of complete uncertainty. Moses didn't know how the Red Sea would part. He just lifted his staff in obedience. David didn't know how he would defeat Goliath. He just stepped onto the battlefield with faith. Peter didn't know if he could really walk on water. He just stepped out of the boat. Every major move of God requires an act of faith. And if you're feeling that call, if you're sensing that something is shifting, if Jesus is visiting you in the night and placing something on your heart, then it's time to trust, it's time to act, it's time to move forward, not with fear, but with faith. What keeps most people from experiencing transformation is the belief that they need to have it all figured out before they can take a step. But that's not how faith works. Faith is stepping before you see the path. Faith is moving before you know exactly how it will all come together. Faith is saying yes before you have all the details. And the moment you do that, the moment you step into the unknown with complete trust, that's when doors open. That's when things start falling into place. That's when you realize that the fear you felt was nothing more than an illusion trying to keep you from stepping into your destiny. So when Jesus says, I will visit you at night, don't ignore it. Don't push it aside. Don't wait for a more convenient time. Listen, lean in, open your heart, because the answer you've been searching for, the direction you've been needing, the breakthrough you've been waiting for, it's already being revealed. The question is, will you have the faith to embrace it? Will you trust in the unknown? Will you take that step even when you don't have all the answers? Because if you do, if you say yes, if you move forward with faith rather than fear, then what's waiting for you on the other side is greater than anything you could have imagined. But you have to take the first step. You have to trust. You have to be willing to believe that even in the unknown, God is leading you exactly where you're meant to be. The question isn't whether he's speaking. The question is, are you listening? And more importantly, will you act on what he's telling you? When you receive a calling, a vision, or a conviction that something in your life needs to change, the worst thing you can do is delay. Hesitation is the enemy of transformation. Too many people feel the pull. They recognize that they are meant for more. They sense that God is opening a door, but instead of stepping through it, they wait. They overanalyze. They question. They wonder if they're really ready. And in that hesitation, they lose momentum. They lose clarity. They lose the very opportunity that was meant to set them free. There is power in immediate action. When Jesus says, open this before February 14th, it's not a suggestion, it's a call to urgency. It's a reminder that divine timing matters. That when God speaks, he expects obedience, not procrastination. And yet most people live in the mindset of one day I'll pursue my purpose. One day I'll take my faith seriously. One day I'll stop making excuses and start living the way I know I'm called to live. But here's the truth. One day is a lie. It doesn't exist. The only moment that is guaranteed is the one you're in right now. And if you don't act in this moment, what makes you think you'll act in the next? Think about it. How many times in your life have you known deep down that you needed to take action, but you delayed? You knew you needed to walk away from that toxic situation, but you stayed. You knew you needed to start that project, but you waited. You knew you needed to speak up, but you remained silent. And in that delay, what happened? The opportunity faded, the passion dwindled, the clarity you once had became clouded by doubt and fear. That's because action creates clarity, but inaction creates confusion. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes. When God calls you to move, he is not asking for perfection. He's asking for obedience. He's asking you to trust that if he is nudging you to step forward, he will provide what you need along the way. Too often, people think they need to have everything figured out before they can begin. They think they need more knowledge, more preparation, more certainty. But the truth is, you don't need more time. You need more faith. Faith that what you need will be provided. Faith that even if you don't have all the answers, God does. Faith that if he is calling you, he has already prepared the way. Look at every person in the Bible who is called into something greater. Moses, David, Esther, Paul. None of them had all the details when they were called. None of them felt fully qualified. None of them knew exactly how things would play out. But they acted. They stepped forward in faith, and because of that, they stepped into their purpose. What if Moses had waited? What if David had delayed? What if Paul had hesitated? History would have been rewritten. And that's exactly what happens in our own lives when we fail to act. We miss out on the future that was meant for us. We convince ourselves that we have time, but time is never promised. We assume that the opportunity will still be there later, but opportunities have expiration dates. When Jesus says, open this before February 14, he's saying there is something waiting for you, but you have to act in the timing that has been set. If you wait too long, the window will close. And here's the thing. You won't always see the consequence of your inaction immediately. Sometimes life continues as usual, and you think, maybe it wasn't that important. But weeks, months, even years down the line, you realize that the moment you ignored was the moment that could have changed everything. That's why urgency matters. Not rushed decisions, not reckless choices, but intentional, faith-driven action. The enemy's greatest strategy is not to convince you to reject your calling. It's to get you to delay it, to make you think you have more time, to make you feel like you can start tomorrow. Because if he can keep you waiting long enough, he knows you'll never start. He knows you'll talk yourself out of it. He knows you'll overthink it until you convince yourself that you were never called in the first place. And once that happens, once the fire inside you has been smothered by hesitation, you settle. You go back to your old ways. You shrink into the person you used to be instead of rising into the person you were meant to be. But you don't have to let that happen. You don't have to fall into the trap of delay. You can choose to act now. You can choose to trust now. You can choose to step into what God is calling you to do now, before the moment passes, before the opportunity fades, before the door that was wide open begins to close. And here's the beauty of it. When you act in faith, you will see things shift in ways you never expected. You will see doors open that you couldn't have opened on your own. You will see people enter your life at just the right moment. You will see provision where you thought there was lack. But none of that happens if you don't take the first step. So ask yourself, what have you been delaying? What is the thing you know deep down you are supposed to do, but you've been putting off? What dream, what calling, what assignment has God placed on your heart that you've been waiting for the right time to pursue, because this is the right time? Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready, now. If you're waiting for a sign, this is it. If you've been asking God to confirm whether you should take action, consider this your confirmation. There is no more time for hesitation. There is no more space for delay. You either step into your calling now, or you risk missing it entirely. What happens next is entirely up to you. But know this, delayed obedience is disobedience, and disobedience has consequences. You are not created to live in hesitation. You are not created to spend your life wondering what could have been. You were created for action, for purpose, for faith-driven movement. So open the door, step forward, say yes, take the leap, because when Jesus says, open this before February 14, he is not giving you an option, he's giving you an invitation to trust, an invitation to grow, an invitation to step into the life he has been preparing for you. The only question is, will you accept it?